Hi, David. Hey, Bruce, sorry about that. I'm Ken today, and I didn't know if you were Bruce McDonald or an impersonator.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me in.
This comes up as Bruce. So,
Okay.
Hi, all. Good to see you all.
hi, Linda.
Good morning.
Hi. Bruce, did you get my voicemail from about 10 days ago?
Yeah, clarifying that you were in fact correct about that. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure you got that.
Yeah.
David, can I ask you, is there anyone else that's not on the agenda who should be promoted as a panelist?
Who's not on the agenda?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
okay.
I don't think so. No.
Okay, I'm trying to get Jay in here.
Do you have, no, Ken Suarez is there. No.
No, do you want, Ken is on the call. Do you want him promoted to a panelist?
He's on the agenda.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
I don't see him.
He's the third thing on the agenda.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I missed that. Okay. Okay, bear with me this morning. I'm not
Thanks,
Ken.
Ann, for doing this.
We
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Well, I'm glad Ken's getting some time off. Hopefully it won't be like his vacation last year, which is, if you recall, he was in France.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
During the hurricane. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
already spoke with him yesterday.
You what?
I had to speak with him yesterday.
I know, so did I.
So I feel bad about that.
Yeah.
When is Ken back?
I think the 16th.
Are we expecting all of the panelists this morning, Jay?
I'm sorry.
Are we expecting all of the panelists this morning?
I don't think Bob Walter was going to attend. I think that's the only one I know of.
No, Marguerite,
Oh, about Marguerite was not going to attend.
her dad has just passed away and she's in Germany. So, and Bob Walker has a health issue. He's sorry he can't attend, but
I'm trying to get Tony in. Okay.
We already have 54 participants. This is a hot ticket.
Really?
Yeah.
I know too.
So who else are we waiting for?
Here comes Tony. Recording in progress. Hey, Tony.
John on the call?
Yes.
Do you think you have everybody in? That's,
I think so. Is Tony here? And John's here. Tony, sorry about that. It told me that you didn't want to be a panelist.
Oh, I did, but it comes in under Angie, so sometimes it's not recognizable, so that's
Yeah,
okay,
no,
I'm in.
It
I'm
was
in.
it was under Angie and I thought, okay,
Yeah.
well, Angie's taking your place and she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to be a panelist.
Oh, that's right, she probably would not.
Okay, what about,
do you have to let in our speakers as panelists, Ann?
yes, I do, and I think I have, but I'm gonna keep going through. What about Ken? Is Ken
Yeah.
coming today? I don't see his name here.
Ken Gill.
Yes,
He comes for part of the meetings. He's doing some health procedures that
Okay.
are done in the morning, and he comes when he can.
okay. I'll keep looking. I don't
I
see,
keep an eye out for him.
okay, I will, and I'll keep an eye out for Sandy.
Yeah.
And I think that's it then, since Bob and
Okay, well, we can get
Margaret
started.
are not coming.
They
Okay,
come in. So I would like to, I'm Jay Brown, and I would like to welcome everyone to our July 11th meeting of the Captiva Community Panel. Today, we're going to have an agenda that includes key updates on current panel projects, as well as continuing discussion about next steps in regards to the county land use proposals. Start off with the roll call. Jay Brown is here. David Mintz,
He's here.
Linda Laird.
Yep.
Marguerite is absent due to family situation. Bob Walter is absent. Ann Brady.
yes,
Here.
I'm here.
John Jensen.
Here, Jay.
Thank you, John. I saw Bruce. Bruce, you're here, right? McDonald.
Yes, I'm here, yeah.
Ken Gill apparently is not checked in yet. We hope he makes it later. And Sandy is not in yet.
No, I'm here.
Oh, Sandy's here. Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
And then Tony Lappy.
I'm here, Jay.
Okay, Ken Gooderham is on vacation, so Ann Brady will be handling the technical aspects of the meeting. I'm very confident she will do a superb job, right, Ann?
Thank you, Jay. I will hope to live up to your expectations.
All right. Let's start off with motion to approve the June 13th meeting minutes. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Jay.
Second?
I'll second it, Jay.
Okay, is there any discussion regarding those minutes?
No.
All in favor of approval, raise your hand. Minutes approved.
Aye.
No.
Okay, we're going to start off with David Mintz giving us an update on what's going on with the land development issues at South Seas, and also their effort to raise the building heights in Captiva outside South Seas. So David, you want to give us an update on anything new that you have?
Yeah, I have three things. It should be fairly quick. Can people hear me? Because I got a text that said they were having difficulty hearing me, but I want to make sure that you can hear me.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I hear you.
Okay, that's great. Okay, the first thing is that after our last meeting, Ken Gooderham sent out our principles that we approved, and they have been widely distributed, and I think they've been fairly positively received. I think it's helped people focus on the issues. My understanding is that the Captiva Civic Association endorsed them and sent them out to all their constituents and their members yesterday. And so I think that's a good thing. I
Well, SCCF did also, right?
Yes, SCCF did. I understand that the city of Sanibel has received them. I understand that they've been approved by the Association of Homeowners on South Seas. And my understanding also is that city of Sanibel is going to consider them at their next public meeting. So it's basically done what we'd hope it would do, which was basically reflect the sentiments of people who testified at the June 20th meeting, and also who sent in those thousands upon thousands of emails to the Board of County Commissioners. So that's a good thing. The next thing is that, as you know, there was going to be that Commissioner Ruane has requested that there be meetings held in Captiva and Sanibel regarding these proposed amendments. And the county staff or the county attorney's office set up the first meeting for this coming Thursday, July 13th at 6 p.m. at the Captiva Civic Association. What wasn't clear to us was what the format of that meeting was going to be. Our initial understanding is that the format was going to look similar to what had taken place on June 6th and June 20th, that there would be a presentation by the either the county attorney or the county staff, and then people would have an opportunity to have their 3 minutes and respond. But then there's been a negotiations, my understanding, between Commissioner Ruane and the county staff, and they've changed the format of that meeting so that it's not going to be in a public hearing a format, but it's going to be a more informal workshop format that's going to give us the opportunity to have more time to explain and walk through the concerns that we have on Captiva. And my understanding is that there's going to be sort of a horseshoe setup or a roundtable set up. It's going to be chaired by Commissioner Ruane, since this is his district. My understanding also is that that I will be representing the panel, being asked to present the principles that the panel has basically agreed to, and have enough time to do that in a thorough and a comprehensive way. The SCCF has also been asked to sit at that roundtable, as well as the mayor of Sanibel. It's my understanding, I don't know if this is finalized, but that's what I believe, that Ken Suarez from the Council of Association of South Seas will also be at that table. Timber's representative has been invited to sit down and discuss these issues and maybe present what its plans are if it chooses to do so. The attorney from RLR, from Royal Shell, Roberts, will also be invited to sit at that table and have a discussion. And also, I believe, somebody from CCA. And then the county staff will also be there, and any other commissioners who wish to be there, and they can ask questions and be part of that discussion. I think the sense of this meeting is not to have a debate, not to have winners or losers, not to point fingers, but basically to have a full discussion so that it becomes clear by the end of the meeting what the concerns are of the Captiva community as reflected in our principles, what the concerns are of the Council of Associations on South Seas, and to basically come away from that meeting understanding what the issues are without having necessarily to resolve them in this first meeting, but understand what the concerns are and why the response that the community had was so strong in opposition to what was being proposed. And so I think we can thank Commissioner Ruane from, shifting this meeting from a more stilted, possibly public hearing type meeting into something which hopefully will be a little more productive, and will be productive, and will at least make the positions of our communities, that is Captiva and Sanibel, clear to the county and the county commissioners. So that's the first thing I want to report. That meeting will be held on, again, July 13th, Thursday night at 6 o'clock. Open for people to be there in person. My understanding is that it's going to be streamed also. And there'll be a notice CCA or someone will put in a panel, will put out a notice of how you can stream into that meeting. So that's not. Does
I have a
anybody?
question.
Sure.
Will the new city manager sit at the table?
I don't know who the county is going to have.
County, sorry,
County
excuse me.
manager.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know who's going to be there from the county at this point. I just don't know. I know that the new county manager, who's not, I guess he becomes the county manager on August 1st. I think there's no question in my mind that he's aware of what's going on. And hopefully he'll bring himself up to date on these issues. But yeah, I would hope he if he's not there, he will have the opportunity to listen to the meeting.
Is there anything we should do to try to get him there?
I think this is, I don't think we need to do that, Linda.
That's fine.
I think the county is really very aware of what's going on at this point. I mean, after June 20th, the county is fully aware of the controversy and they have to handle it in the way that they see fit at this point.
Did you say that the other commissioners were invited or not? I sort of missed that.
I think it's going to be chaired by Commissioner Ruane. There are some sunshine issues that they have to deal with. So I don't know whether or not they will actually be in attendance at that meeting. I know there's going to be subsequent meetings that are going to be held on Sanibel. I think there's one in August, and there's another meeting I believe is going to be held downtown Fort Myers on this issue. And there may be even additional meetings as necessary as this thing develops. I mean, we've gone from a situation where this was going to be, I think, passed very quickly on June 20th to a situation now where we're going to have a lot of discussion about it on the islands. And I think that's a positive thing. And I think that's just a clear reflection of the work that the people on Sanibel and Captiva and the voices that they made sure that their voices were heard.
Thank you.
David, is it conceivable that that following these public meetings, county staff might choose to revise its recommendations?
I think, yeah, I think the purpose of these meetings is to inform the county of the concerns and inform them in a way that'll give them the ability to revise those amendments consistent with the needs and aspirations of people on Captiva and Sanibel. And I think that, there are lawyers, like I said, other lawyers that are weighing in on this that agree with that. And I think we'll have attorneys, which I'm going to talk about in a second, which will also help us and help the county to revise some of these amendments to be more consistent with the resiliency needs of Captiva. Yeah.
So do you think there is a period of time where the county can revise these, or do you think it goes until September and then whatever happens that happens there?
I think there's a procedural issue here. It's scheduled for a public hearing on September 5th, as we all know. I don't know whether or not the process would be that the Board of County Commissioners just votes down that particular proposal and then can review and vote an alternative proposal that the county staff's working on in conjunction with us, et cetera. I don't know whether or not amendments can be made to this document prior to September 5th, but I think those are all procedural niceties. I think if the county and county staff, the county attorney's office, the county commissioners, us as the city of Sanibel, all the people working together have an alternative that makes sense and everybody agrees to, there's always a procedural way to make that happen. So I wouldn't get hung up on the procedure at this point. I would just see if we can get everybody to agree what the document actually should be.
Okay, David,
Did everybody mean like the county at this point in time?
Well, I can speak for myself, my hope at the end of this process, at the end of all these meetings, that the height and density limitations and regulations on Captiva stay in force. That's my hope. Maybe there would have to be some negotiation somewhere down the line. I don't know, but that's my hope. And it's my hope that by the end of this process, the county attorney's office, the county commissioners understand that's the right thing to do to protect Captiva. That's my hope. How that happens or whether it happens remains to be seen. I think we just have to do our best to convince people in the most respectful and comprehensive way that that's the thing to do. At the end of the day, the county, and I know the county is listening on these calls, and so we all should know that. There are a lot of people listening on these calls, but at the end of the day, if no one cares what Captiva thinks, and nobody cares what the panel thinks, and nobody cares what the people on Sanibel think, and there's an effort just to move the existing amendments through as they exist, I think then it just raises the question of litigation. And it's my hope against all hopes that we don't have to litigate this issue.
Thank you.
David, are you going to move on to an update on retaining an attorney?
Now we can move to litigation, right? Yeah. We have been in consultation with the law firm of Holland and Knight, which is a international national law firm that has a great deal of expertise in these matters. They're located both in Miami and Tallahassee and just about everywhere else in the world. And they're very interested and I would say excited about representing us on this issue. When I say us, we haven't finalized the exact approach yet because in the process of discussing this with our law firm, it became evident that the Captiva Community Panel is a quasi-governmental organization which is governed by not only Sunshine, but the Open Public Meetings Law, which means that there effectively is no lawyer-client privilege between the Captiva Community Panel and any attorneys that the panel retains directly. And so what we've been working with is to figure out some sort of appropriate mechanism by which the Holland and Knight could represent the stakeholders that were involved in the prior representation by Richard Grosso. And we're in the process of finalizing that at this point. We're in discussions with the law firm. We're in discussions with the Captiva Civic Association, which has a land use committee. And that land use committee can consist of the panel representatives, CCA representatives, SCCF representatives, the South Seas Association representatives, and Holland Knight can get direction from that committee. And so we're trying to organize our representation in a way that is that gives everyone, all the coalition partners, the ability to be represented by this law firm collectively. There would be one point person which is going to be worked out, but the lawyers won't represent the panel directly because, as I just explained, there won't be any lawyer-client privilege with the panel. And that's something that the lawyers would not be comfortable with. No lawyers would be comfortable with. So we're working that out. I suspect we will have a determination of the structure of this within a couple of days. And as soon as it's done, I will draft up a summary of that and get it to everybody on the panel. At the same time, we are in the process of putting together the legal fundraising portion of this. The CCA has volunteered because there is a 501c4. The panel is a 501c3. They're a 501c4, which allows them to raise funds for this legal project. They will be the recipient and the holder of the funds that'll be used solely and only for the legal representation and to pay the lawyer. Actually, they will set up a separate account for this, and they will start fundraising within a couple of days as soon as we finalize the structure of representation where everybody feels comfortable, including our panel members. And my understanding is that we've been receiving a lot of calls and emails from people who want to contribute to the legal fund. My understanding is that I wasn't sure it's public, but I think it is, that the SCCF has just initially contributed $10,000 to that fund, to start that fund off. And so I think we will have more than sufficient funding, hopefully, to pay for the lawyers to represent us, if in fact we need to have expensive representation. Again, that's not our hope, but we want to be fully prepared to defend our heightened density regulations if we have to. Okay, Jay?
Yes. Well, if SCCF has contributed $10,000, it seems to me it'd be appropriate for the panel to contribute $10,000, also, as a member of the, of this, coalition that's going to hire the, the attorney and give it direction. So, I think it would be appropriate for the panel to contribute $10,000, and I wonder if anybody on the panel would, like to move something like that we do make a $10,000 contribution. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Jay, before you do that,
Yes.
I asked a question last time to you, David. How is this, and Ken was going to research it too, are we as a 501c3, can we do that? So maybe you would like to comment.
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that yet. I know somebody's researching it. I know that the best we could hope for is that some portion, percentage of our donations can be used for those kinds of lobbying or legal things. But we'd have to figure out, that's the best we could hope for, what percentage it would be and how we would do that. So I think that is something that the fundraising group will figure that out and give a report as to whether 501c3s can contribute or can raise money as a tax deductible contribution, which is different than I think what Jay is asking, is whether we make a contribution from the existing funds we already have to that, which is not, whatever it is. But I do see how those two questions are related, because a lot of that funding was contributed on could be contributed on a tax deductible basis. And so I think what we could do is maybe pass a motion subject to whether or not we can do that as with 501c3 monies. If we can't, then we can't. But if we can, then we will. I think.
Oh, I didn't realize that. You mean, you say there's a question as whether or not the panel can contribute to something like this?
There is a limitation on the amount of 501c3 monies that can be used for, I believe this, I'm not sure about this, Jay, but there is a limitation on the percentage of 501c3 funds that can be used for things like lobbying or legal expenses. So I just don't know. I haven't looked that up myself personally. And I think that Ken was looking at that. I think Ken Goodham, he went on vacation. And so I think that is a question. So for example, SCCF is making a $10,000 contribution. I believe they can do that up to a percentage in those purposes. Now they have a lot more money than
A percentage of what?
percentage of donations that come in. In other words, a percentage of their donations can be used for lobbying purposes. In other words, if you
David, sorry to interrupt, but James Evans has posted something that may be helpful. First of all, he's confirming that SCCF is contributing 10,000 to the legal fund. And then he's letting everyone know that nonprofits that file IRS form 5768 and make the lobbying election under code section 501H are governed by a separate expenditure test, which includes a mathematical formula that limits the amount an organization can spend on lobbying activities and includes a specific definition for nonprofits in reference that is subject to a maximum overall cap of 1 million in annual lobbying expenditures, of which grassroots lobbying may not exceed 25% of the permitted overall lobbying expenditures.
okay,
Got that?
so that is very helpful. We know there are rules that exist now. And so I think what we can do if we wish to is pass the motion that Jay is subject to making sure it can be done pursuant to the rules that would affect us. And that's something that we could just have Ken Goodham just confirm for us. And if he has to come to an accountant or lawyer, he can do that.
I'll make the motion to support Chase, based on that criteria. I have no problem supporting that.
Okay, so the motion is being made by Tony that we contribute $10,000 to this legal defense fund, provided that a legal review confirms that we're able to do so.
Correct.
Okay, so that's the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor, say, raise your hand. Looks
Aye.
like motion passes. Okay, David.
That's it.
Okay, you're going to in working with the attorney, I assume you're going to get some kind of an agreement as to what their fees will be to cover their work between now and September 5th.
Yeah.
And exactly what they'll be doing for us over that
Yes,
time period.
what I'm gonna do, as soon as we get this finalized, so to speak, I will get that verbals, a list of what they're doing, exactly what the structure is and what their fees are, and I will draft a memo and get it to everybody on the panel.
Okay.
Hey, David, can I ask you a question? I mean, I'm still very confused about the whole kind of what's going on in the, I almost feel like misinformation, like, because in the story, it was, I think it was in the Free Press, a few days ago, Kevin Ruan referenced drawings and a plan, even though I think at the last meeting, Bob Walter said there was no plan, so maybe he wasn't aware. And now there's information, I guess, that's been leaked out around parking underneath of some structure. So it is like we're sort of fighting something we don't know anything about here. And do you have any intelligence? Is any of that true, or is it fake news, or like I just feel like we don't know what's going on.
Well, when you say what's going, you mean what South Sea's plans are? That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, I suspect a lot of that is fake news. The only thing that I've seen, I've heard a lot of rumors. The only thing I saw was in an article that was in, I think, Gulf Business News or something like that. which Timbers said that they had 107 units at the harbor, at the big marina, hotel units, and they want up approximately 175. That's what I saw. That was basically quoted from the CEO of Timbers. That now, assuming that's accurate, that's probably not fake news. Everything else has been, I think, speculation. And I think one of the frustrating things, even for county at this point, is they really don't know, and for the associations of South Seas, they really don't know what the plans are. I know Bob Walter said they don't have plans yet. And so we don't know. I think one of the hopes that Commissioner Ruane had by setting up these workshops between now and September is that it would become clearer as to what it is we're looking at. But we don't know. And I think it would be unfair at this point to say that that Timbers wants X, Y, or Z, because I think that's not fair. I think what we know for sure is that the county proposed amendments that are being publicly supported by Timbers at this point, because they put that out, that they publicly support the county amendments.
Yeah.
Really exempts them from the height limitations of the Captiva code and from the city limitations of 3 hotel units per acre. And that means that they're governed by a different set of rules, which is, like I said, up to 75 feet above base flood elevation and an limited number of hotel units, potentially within a planned development. That's what we know for sure as far as what we know in terms of the language. That doesn't mean they were going to ask for that. It doesn't mean that the county would approve that. It just means those are the changes that are being proposed at this point. But we don't know what the South Seas plan development is for the future of the resort. We just do not know.
Right, but also, again, Bruce, we're not reacting to what are South Seas plans. We're reacting to the latitude that the county is giving South Seas to develop plans, within. Basically,
Agreed.
no control on density. They can build as many units as they want.
Right.
And we know, just in a simplified fashion, that South Seas would be able to build buildings with at least 3 stories, versus 2 stories.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're objecting to a change in the rules that will govern South Seas, not specifically what their plans are.
Right.
And I think it's appropriate we do that because South Seas may have plans now, but those plans could change to take full advantage, of all the opportunities that the land use codes would give them over time.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions for David? David, any other comments you want to make regarding the whole situation on land?
No, I just think I think we can't lose sight of the fact of how responsive and unified and active these 2 communities of Sanibel and Captiva have been in the month of July and June. I mean, and I think that says a lot about the people that live on Captiva and Sanibel. And I think we should not forget that. And that includes all the owners on South Seas. We had always thought in the past that the owners on South Seas basically were different quote investment properties. And it's turning out that the owners of the condominiums and the homes and the timeshares on South Seas are not just investment properties. These are owners who are invested in the character of Captiva and are invested in what Captiva is. And that is a really gratifying piece of knowledge that we really didn't have before. And I think that's just a wonderful thing that we've discovered during this process.
Yeah.
Okay, the panel,
Jay,
yes,
I'm-
go ahead,
I'm
please.
sorry, people are raising their hand in the,
Yes.
but they need to just put it into the Q&A. They need to type their question into the Q&A rather than raising their hand. Because we're not gonna be able to hear them otherwise. So I'm just letting everyone in the audience
Okay.
know that.
Yeah, we want to, address community input as we go along here, so.
Yeah.
We will make sure before we leave this subject that we address, community input. While people are typing in, let me discuss a related matter here. The panel's been meeting on a once-a-month basis here, and developments happen very quickly in regard to this area, and I think we should not wait until next month to have our next panel meeting. I'd like to propose that, David, do you think that by next Tuesday that you will have attorneys' fees, deliverables from attorneys, well known, and could present them at that time, or would it be better to maybe wait 2 weeks?
No, we'll have it by Tuesday.
Okay, I think we should plan a panel meeting for next Tuesday, just for an update on the total situation. We can review what happened at the public meeting on Thursday. We can review that, and we can review what David has learned about attorneys' fees and deliverables, and we can discuss fundraising at that time to be able to pay the attorney's fees. So I think we should have, it'll probably be a fairly brief panel meeting, but we should have a panel meeting next Tuesday at this
Hey,
time. Yeah.
One question, Sanibel, I mean, this is just for me, they've got a meeting, a council meeting with architectural, something's going on July 18th, which is that next Tuesday. It starts at 8:30. I don't know if you could push the meeting back till 10 or whatever, but
Okay, yeah,
I'm gonna be at that meeting. I don't know how long it lasts, and I don't know exactly what they're doing, but we got some concerns, obviously. that
sure,
affect me on
absolutely.
Sanibel. So just so you know, I mean, that's my schedule. I don't know how everybody else's is, but
No, I think maybe we could start at, say, 10:30, something like that. Would that give you plenty of time, Tony, or?
I would think so, but you never know how those council meetings go. But I've got a call into to Dana Souza to see what that meeting's about, how long it's going to go. So I would think 10:30 would be okay.
Would you
For me,
rather just do it at 1 o'clock?
whatever, I just want
Right,
to tell you
let's
my
say 1
schedule.
o'clock.
1 o'clock works for me. I mean, I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
Yeah,
I have conflicts then
The whole day or?
in the afternoon.
Make it 11 o'clock. I mean, you want to try 11 and just see what
Okay.
happens there?
Okay,
Sure.
okay, so let's
I'll
make,
mark 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
I just got
Okay.
it from Ken Goodaham, who said that, and we'll confirm it, but he just texted me and said that the limit is 20%, 20% of annual revenue, which would make it feasible, but let's just confirm it from an attorney before we send the money to anybody. Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
there's a question, there's a comment or a question in the Q&A, Jay, before we move on. What is the progress on identifying the actual code changes that are recommended to eliminate the discrepancies between the various sections of code? These discrepancies are what South Seas is using as justification for being exempted from them.
Yeah, we have presented that to the county. I am going to try to, I'm going to meet with the county community development department and work through those changes. There's no question that quote discrepancy, that provision that's obsolete has to be updated. So that hopefully even by Thursday night, the county will recognize and acknowledge that that has to be updated. So in answer to that question, hopefully by Thursday, that would become clearer.
Okay, we have agreed that we're gonna meet at 11 o'clock next Tuesday. And I don't know if Ken will be back, but in time to set that meeting up, but if not, can you put out the links and so forth and an announcement of the meeting?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Ken is hovering over us. He's texting me, so I know.
Okay.
And God bless Ken. He is like a godsend for this man.
Yeah, I'll talk to Ken. He might just want to do it, but yeah.
Okay.
Jay, I'm sorry, I apologize. I just looked at my calendar and there's no way I'm going to be able to do the 18th at any time, just so you know, I can't be at the meeting. There's another conflict that I have already on schedule, so I can't change it. So I just won't be at the meeting, or I'll try to listen in if I can, but
Okay.
it's just going to be too hard for me. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right, Tony.
If you want to keep it at 9, go right ahead. I mean, it's not going to make any difference to me.
Okay, I guess we go back to 9 o'clock then.
Sure.
Okay. All right, and do we have other questions before we move on to our next topic?
We do not.
Okay. Next up is, according to the agenda, is Ken Suarez, I believe. Yes, do we have an update from Ken Suarez?
Good morning. Thank
Hi,
you
Ken.
for having me. So I just want to provide some information that will be useful going forward. First, I want to answer, Bruce's question that he brought up about plans. And I think that, Timbers is good about hiding the fact that, they don't have any plans, and plans is a subjective point of view here. I mean, I don't think they have plans at all. I mean, plans is pretty extensive, but do they have concepts? Of course they have concepts. And that's the difference. They know what they want to do, but of course they don't have plans because they don't know if they can do it, but they certainly have an idea of what they want to do on the property. And that's what they're not sharing with anybody. Okay. Except for their 175 hotel rooms that they want to build down at Harborside. So I keep on asking about that. What is your concept? What do you want to do? Well, we don't have plans. Of course you don't have plans. So I just wanted to kind of clear that up a little bit, So instead of asking about plans, why don't we start asking what they want to do? What's your concept? That may help them dodge the question a little bit more. But anyways, regarding the principles that the community panel put out, I can tell you that our group is 100% behind what has been written and what has been presented or will be presented to the county. So we don't think anything else needs to be added. I think it speaks for itself. Interestingly enough, this week, or starting last week, Timbers ownership started putting out emails directly to our homeowners. They sort of decided they're going to bypass the President's Council and go directly to the ownership. I think a few weeks back, before the commissioners meeting, I think we upset them, and they decided, okay, we're not going to go through the President's Council. We're going to start to go directly to the owners to get them information. And they started that last week by inviting certain associations to an informational meeting that they're hosting, basically a webinar with different condominium and homeowners associations at a time. So this will start tomorrow at 11 a.m. And part of their letter, and let me just read to you, because it's important to understand. Their opening paragraph to the owner says, in an effort to make sure all owners of South Seas have information needed To make the most informed decision, you are respectfully invited to attend an informational meeting regarding the pending Lee County Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code changes. The South Seas Resort Ownership Group has been talking with the county since January to get clarity on our recovery post Hurricane Ian. This meeting will include representatives from planning firms, civil engineers, coastal engineers, and we'll discuss the impact of your specific project within South Seas. Okay, so this is what they've put out, and there are 8 different webinars that they're going to be hosting. They also sent an email with these dates and times to all 5 county commissioners to show them that they are reaching out to the ownership stakeholders inside South Sea. So it's interesting to me that they've started this now. You know, they should have started it before, but now they're playing catch up and trying to get this information out because they feel there's a lot of misinformation being given. So it's sort of interesting. I love when they put it in writing that they've been speaking with the county since January, because you know we know they have, and of course they, you know, county has told us that they brought this action on their own. Anyways, so we'll see how those meetings go. They're lasting 1 hour. So they have 45 minutes of presentation, and they're devoting 15 minutes to questions that they want people to submit before the meeting, and they'll answer those questions. In our group, we are having a President's Council meeting this evening to talk a little bit about this and what questions we should submit. And we've already had some challenging questions that have been submitted by the various presidents of the associations that are involved in the meeting starting tomorrow. So we've got meetings on the 12th, the 21st, the 25th, the 27th, and the 28th. So the majority of the meetings are taking place after the community meeting on Thursday, which I find interesting. So that's just FYI for everybody. I have also had the privilege to speak with the timeshare group and their general counsel. And I think this is a group that we cannot overlook. I think they want to be active in this process. There's over 6,100 owners within the timeshares, and there are 8 associations. And I think it's another group that we need to get involved with this process. You know, they are as much contributors of commerce and ownership as anybody else on that island, and we can't overlook them. They're anxious to get involved, and that's something that I'd like to work. David and I have been discussing it, and we need to bring them on board to get their input as well. Their stakeholders also. So basically, that's my update for the group. If anybody has any questions, more than willing to answer anything, but we're anxious for the Thursday evening meeting.
Ken, let me just say that someone wrote in and said that there's a timbers meeting with BVIII, not sure what that is, today at 1 o'clock.
No, that is tomorrow.
Okay.
It's not today. It's tomorrow.
And could you
It's
just,
all the beach villas. So they kind of separated these 8
Okay,
webinars, and I believe Land's End is in the morning at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and all the beach villas, from what I understand, is meeting at 1 o'clock.
Okay, yeah, they did. Okay, they wrote back and said their mistake. It's tomorrow at 1. David, I'm trying to let in Sandy, but I don't know her phone number, and there's numerous people on phone numbers with phone numbers.
see if I can get it to you.
If you can type her phone number to me, I'll let her in.
Okay, I will do that.
Ken, do you have any other comments or?
I'm good, Jay.
Okay, thanks so much for that update. And I hope you'll be able to attend our panel meeting next week.
I'll do my best. I'll be away myself, so chances are I probably won't be able to unless something changes.
Okay. I hope you can make it.
Thank you
All
for
right.
having me.
Yes, always. All right, next on the agenda was Kevin Wayne, if he was able to attend our meeting. I don't know, does it, Ann, can you see him? Is he anywhere present or trying to get in?
No, I have not seen him. Unless
Okay,
he's
David,
coming in on another.
Yeah, you didn't get him, you didn't get any word from him that he was planning to attend today, did you? Or,
Yeah, I think he had other engagements. And if he was on the line, he would probably text me or phone me to let me know he's trying to get in. He's done that in the past. But I know he was away last week, and I think his calendar is about as full as anybody's calendar.
yeah,
could
I
be.
can imagine. I can imagine. Okay, well, let's move down then to the next item on the agenda. Update from Mike Sawicki. Mike, are you around?
Yes, I am.
The floor is yours.
Open the camera there. We have had a couple of complaints recently about a number of derelict vessels being brought back into Roosevelt Channel. They've been kind of up and down the channel, showing up on people's docks and what have you. A lot of them have the registration numbers and HIN numbers either removed or obliterated. So if you have anyone shows up on your dock or something like that, please go ahead and give us a call. We're already working with FWC on this. I think they've been out there taking some photographs and planning to remove any of them that they can. But I know it's probably it's an item that has concerned a couple of people. They brought it to our attention, and we are dealing with it.
Okay, there, FWC can remove those those boats or
Well-
tow them someplace or do something with them.
So eventually, yes, they can. There's a process for moving any vessels that are derelict. Right now we're working on, because a lot of them are either not registered or they're registered to previous owners. So we're kind of working on establishing current ownership and removing vessels that are derelict. Most of the vessels that people have been bringing to our attention do meet the requirements for what's called an at-risk vessel and can be cited for that. Ultimately, with these being brought out here, they can also be cited for the title violations and registration violations. Also, if you do have one of these boats placed on your dock without permission, any boat left on a dock without permission, I can't remember if it needs a 24-hour timeline or if it's immediate, but it's considered a derelict vessel regardless of its condition. So if that happens, just give us a call and we'll try to help out with it. The removal is kind of a different process. Obviously we can get into that with people if if one does show up.
Okay,
And I think that's about it for Captiva for today, unless anybody has any questions.
any questions for Mike? Okay, Mike, thanks for the report.
Okay,
all
you got it.
Appreciate you attending our meetings and letting us know what's going on in law enforcement.
Of course, my pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
All right, take care.
Next up, Fire Chief Jeff Powell, are you here?
I am here. Good morning, everyone.
Hi, Jeff.
Just a couple of things fire department wise. Just two of them are reminders. If you guys wouldn't mind putting them out in your kind of updates that you put out next time as well. Appreciate that. But if anybody has any structures that they are going to demo, please give us a shout if you're open to letting us train on that prior to it being torn down. Whether it's a house, a business, whatever kind of facility or property it is, we can usually make some sort of useful training out of it, which is usually invaluable to us. So that's just a reminder as I saw, some more houses being torn down that I didn't know were coming down. So it's hard to get, that word out to every property owner, but I know you guys have a big list. So if you guys don't mind shooting that out for me, I'd appreciate it.
We will include that in our next announcement to the public.
Perfect. Thanks, Jay. The other one is I know I've mentioned it multiple times, but any businesses that reopen need to have an inspection, need to have a safety inspection before they can open. It's not your annual inspection that we normally do, but I understand there's, even 9 months out, there's still some things that can't be done and whatnot, but you at least have to have a basic safety inspection by us before you can operate. Last two things, the fire district's working to implement a new website. So some of the stuff on ours may work, may not be updated. We're moving platforms to Streamline, who I believe CEPD also uses. It's easier to stay updated with ADA compliance and whatnot that our current company's not doing for us. So we'll be switching over to that. And our beach rescue vehicle is fully out of service now. So we're looking to replace that side by side so we can get back out to the beach for rescues. That thing finally, between the hurricane and age of it, finally died on us here recently. So luckily the sheriff's department does have a vehicle that can get out there, so they can hopefully assist us if we need that as well in the meantime until we can replace that. That's all I have today, unless anybody has any
Okay.
questions.
Jeff, thank you. Anybody have questions for Jeff?
Hey,
I
Jeff,
see
this is John.
Yep. Hey, John.
Hey, how's the ambulance? Hopefully there hasn't been any calls where they needed the ambulance, but have they been?
Yeah, no, it's working out great. And, to the contrary, we actually had a pretty bad trauma alert the other day that we had to fly a patient off the island. So the LZ we've got dedicated on South Seas property for right now, as well as that ambulance, definitely contributed to getting that patient to further emergency care down the road. So yeah, no, it's working out great, and we're all happy that we got that done. So thanks to the panel for their assistance on that as well. But no, it's working out great, John.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff.
I see Tony. Yep.
Yeah, Jeff, I don't know if you'd have any question or objection to it. I guess Doug has been talking to DOT, or he got approached by DOT about putting up crosswalk signs. And I was wondering if you object, what they've had on Sanibel, where they stick that little thing, stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. And I wondered if you'd have any objections if DOT were to put those there and maybe pick up the dead electronic sign that didn't work anymore, had fallen over. But I'm thinking to slow down traffic, if we had those across the Twin Waters crosswalks, those things that stick in the middle of the road. I know they just recently put in a new double line, but I didn't know if you'd have any objection to that or not.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to the same ones that Sanibel has that are right in the middle of the double yellow that have the
Yes.
rubber base and whatnot. No, I don't have any issues with those. I mean, those are designed to basically fold down and break anyways if they get hit. So, I'm not that worried about it as far as our response goes. Our truck is no wider than a normal lane of traffic. So as far as, a public safety standpoint, I don't have issue with those.
Yeah, I just think those are more attractive than the big yellow signs on, either side that says crosswalk. But
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that, yeah.
Tony, I'm really glad you're doing that.
I'm not doing it. I'm hoping DOT will do it.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. I'm hoping you can get DOT to do that. As I'm constantly up and down the Twin Water stretch. And there are times I just don't see, people starting to go across the crosswalk because they blend in with the vegetation or something.
Yeah.
If you have that sign there, it would give me increased focus, on that crosswalk.
Thanks, Jay. I mean, I'll go ahead and approach them and tell them that, that we've discussed it at the panel. If nobody's objecting to it in the panel, or there's nobody in the audience that objects to it, I'd certainly like to proceed it. Now, if people object to it, that's another story. But I just think it would be a good safety issue for us here at Twin Waters with the amount of people that we have crossing the road back and forth over the period of a daytime thing or
Yeah.
certainly on the weekend.
In
Okay,
the past, DOT would generally reach out to us anyways on a topic like that, just for any input we may or may have on it, but I would have no issues with
I
that.
meant to bring it up to Mike Zawicki when he was on board, but I forgot to, so. All
I
right, thank you.
I can give Mike a shout on that.
Would you
want.
please, yeah, if he
Yeah.
has any objections, tell him to reach out to me, it'd be great.
I'm still listening.
Oh, okay, Mike.
Yeah, we're gonna work on getting that traffic sign, the old electric sign. I'll work on getting that moved for you.
Yeah, they take that out, but I like the idea of those little stop stickers. I mean, if you don't, what do you think, Mike? It'll help slow things down a little bit or not?
Yeah, it could. I mean, that obviously is at the discretion of the DOT people.
Okay,
I know sometimes they are not in favor of placing things in the roadway.
Okay.
But that's a conversation I guess you just have to have with them.
okay, I'll reach out to him. Okay, thanks.
Hey, Jay, I do have one last question.
Yes.
that I just
Go ahead,
noticed.
Jeff.
Is the panel or anybody still working on the process of the drains that are in the gutters of the street along Captiva Drive? Is that still something somebody's working towards, or? is
Yes,
that-
we have not had an update on that. But it is one of our projects. I believe maybe Linda or David can help me out. I know we have a proposal from Kimley Horn to develop a design for that. And I think that Kevin was going to get it funded. Am I remembering that correctly, David?
Absolutely. The proposal's been finalized by Kimley Horn, and we are waiting for a legislative, excuse me, a legislative appropriation so we can get the $200,000 that would cost for that, that planning for that storm water management plan to be developed. And that would include looking at those drain pipes and the drains that are all over on Captiva Drive. Jeff.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I appreciate it. I just bring it up because that one that's right in front of our apparatus bay destroys our trucks every time it goes across that. It chews up our tires and everything else. Not to mention the amount of public that rides bikes always goes around them and just rides right out in the middle of the road that I see almost get hit by a car all the time. So, okay, I just wanted to follow up on that. I knew we talked about it in the past, but didn't know where that stood. So thank you.
And this is Sandy. I wanted to mention that DOT did come through and I gave them easement to my property that is next to the Green Flash, and they put in the storm drain. And so it feeds out. That's the good news. The bad news is when the tide gets really high, then it might work in reverse. So I'm kind of concerned. I said, well, don't you have like a backflow preventer or something you can put in there? You know, I'm not an engineer. I'm just talking from a layman. And they said, no, they don't, but that they have some kind of pump. So it's now in effect. So the next time we have a tropical storm, that'll be our test pilot to know whether that's working or it was counterproductive or not, but it's in any case.
Oh, good. Thanks for that, Sandy.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, next up, CEPD update from Daniel Munt. Daniel, are you around?
Good morning. This is John. Daniel's not able to get in the Zoom for whatever reason, so I'll be providing the update. It's short and sweet today, so nothing long. We've been working on the Coastal Resiliency Phase 2, our next steps for that. We got a workshop planned for this Thursday, and information will be coming out shortly for that meeting. And the only other bit of information we've got is that Aptum has completed their surveys, and they're going to be processing the data to tell us how much sand we have on the beach. And that's it for our update today.
Okay. Linda, you want to expand on anything there from the point of view of
John, have we heard anything back from the Army Corps, and where does that stand?
I would have to ask Daniel about that. I haven't heard anything yet, or Carrie may have that answer as well.
Okay. All right.
As far as I understand, we're having trouble. I don't know that they're replying to Daniel or have given him any new information, so I don't have anything on that front. But again, Daniel would be the best person to
Okay,
update folks on that.
okay, so I'll follow up on that.
Oh,
I
could-
noticed oh, go ahead, John.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jay, thank you. Linda, so the plan is the plan to bring back sand that was
Yes.
washed away in the storm?
Yes,
That's-
and the issue is that the Army Corps, if they decide to do it, then they'll somehow fund it completely and they'll come back and do it and it will be their project. We have funding already for approximately 50% of the project as we've defined it, which is around 6x million to bring back more sand. The other 50% is based upon if we do it, and we're not going to get the funding until the Army Corps says no, they're not doing it. So it seems like this is just the process. Everybody keeps telling the commissioners this is the way it works. And it's just, we haven't seen any movement. So I've got to follow up and again see if there's something we can do with Army Corps.
Can I add a little bit of detail to that?
Sure.
So there actually was 2 installments of money given to projects across the state, which ours is included in that. And it was given through FDEP through 2 different instances within the legislation. So there was a recent item in the budget. So technically we have 100% of the costs that we listed, that is listed in this, essentially it's a post-hurricane report, but we cannot, FDEP needs to have an answer from the Army Corps first. So if the Army Corps takes it on, they cover it at 100%. If they don't take it on, then FDEP will cover it. So basically it's 100% either way, but we do need that decision on the part of the Army Corps.
Oh, okay. Would this project include planning of sea oats? Do you know?
Yes. John.
Okay.
It will be a similar project to what we usually do. On the other hand, I think there is still value in Sunset Captiva planting sea oats because it builds things up. But
Mm-hmm.
I would,
Yeah.
okay?
All right. Thanks, Linda.
Yep.
Okay, anything else for CEPD? Okay, next up is SCCF. Carrie, are you going to give that report, or is Matt, or?
I'll jump in here, Jay.
Okay,
Quick one for you today. Obviously, we're excited that the meetings are moving forward with the county, so we'll be participating, as David said, on the Thursday panel. Looking forward to that. And hopefully we'll get some good engagement from the county and from South Seas and that, and figure out what their, if not plans, their general thoughts are, as Ken said. Other than that, we're watching the lake. That's really the big thing on the horizon here. The lake is still going up. The Army Corps announced they're not starting releases yet, but the lake is at 14.75 feet right now. Lots of algae in the lake. Their numbers are a little weird because we've gotten a lot of cloud cover, but it was over 50% covered last week. We're seeing algae pop up in the canals around Cape Coral. The bubble curtains seem to be working to keep it out of the estuaries, but we are seeing more and more individual blooms starting. So I would expect that to continue. And as the rainy season continues and the lake keeps going higher, at some point those releases are going to start. So we're watching
do you
for
think we're
that.
going to have significant algae come down the river when the releases start?
Unless we see something drastic change in the lake, I don't see how they're going to avoid it, because at some point they're going to have to start releases for flood control, whether or not that bloom is happening in the lake. So I would, yes, expect it at some point.
Matt, I don't know if you saw, there was this long detailed article in the New York Times about Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
Quite distressing. Could you just in 2 seconds explain, I know we spent a lot of time updating LOSUM and making sure that there'd be a different distribution of water coming out of Lake Okeechobee between the East Coast and the West Coast, but I'm reading lately that that's not in place yet. So could you just explain why that's not in place and when in fact that's going to be effective?
Sure. So LOSUM is it's the Lake Okeechobee System Operating Manual, and that replaces the LORS 08 system that's being used right now. Originally, a lot of work went into getting that done, so it would be up and running right now. Actually, it was set to start in July. However, right before it was set to be enacted, basically on the right under the wire, the national NIMS came back, the National Fisheries Marine Service, and said that they needed to do a full biological opinion addressing the risk of red tide to endangered sea turtles and how LOSUM could affect that. It's on the whole, it's good that they're doing this. We need to understand exactly what's happening with these releases and if they're having an extended impact on our estuaries through an exacerbation of red tide. It's unfortunate that NIMS waited until the 11th hour to decide that they wanted to do a full biological opinion. Their paperwork filing that said they wanted to now do a full biological opinion pushed out that time frame until December is now when we're expecting LOSUM to go in place. So effectively, we're missing one rainy season of LOSUM. However, with that being said, it really does seem like the Army Corps is trying to flex the current distribution schedule to be as close to LOSUM as it can be with still remaining in the LORS 08 requirements. So at this stage, we may have seen a few extra releases, which would have been nice, but they have been using a lot of operational flexibility. So I don't think necessarily anything would be drastically different right now if we had been using LOSUM versus LORS.
Was there a concern, Matt? It's really confusing. Was there a concern that LOSUM was going to have a greater negative effect on the sea turtles, et cetera, than LORS? And that's why they had to stop LOSUM from going into effect while they did this study?
No, so we haven't gotten confirmation about what came out yet. And until we see the biological opinion and some of the comments, I don't think we'll know exactly. What I suspect happened is more research has recently come out through SCCF and through University of Florida last summer that said, listen, we know that these lake releases are directly or have the potential to directly exacerbate a red tide. And what I suspect was going on was without that research being published and peer reviewed, the Army Corps was not incorporating that into their decision making. Similarly, they do incorporate that they do incorporate the exacerbating or the effects of blue-green algae being released because we have these direct effects. So within the LORS and LOSUM scheduling, it says they will try to avoid sending blue-green algae blooms down the estuaries. And the entire time throughout the LOSUM process, we were submitting comments saying, listen, you need to also understand how you're potentially exacerbating a red tide and the effects of your releases on a red tide and the animals that will then and the ecosystems that are going to be affected by that. And they ignored a lot of those comments from the Army Corps standpoint. And then NIMS came up and said, well, we think this is worth taking a look at. So they slowed down the process to fully evaluate the effect of those releases. So it's not that we don't know it's not that we don't know that they are affecting red tide. It's the degree of what they're affecting and how it's going to be incorporated into future management decisions.
Whoa. Yeah.
It's all very, technical and they're getting really deep in the weeds. But at the end of the day, I think it's better that we have an actual understanding of how these releases are impacting red tide over the next 10 years when LOSUM is in effect, rather than rushing it to be done a couple months before it otherwise would be.
Okay.
All right. Moving on, next we had a South Seas update, but I know Bob Walter is not with us today, so I'm assuming we will not have that update. And then we have an item, additional updates. David, do you have anything else you need to
No.
brief the panel on?
No.
Okay, we'll move on then to wastewater committee update, which is my topic. The wastewater project is in the hands of the city of Sanibel right now. They need 2 consulting studies completed before we can move on with the wastewater project. The first is a consulting study of what they will do with the increased processed wastewater that will come out of the Donax plant if they accept our wastewater. That consultant's report was due to the city of Sanibel in mid-June. I've tried to follow up with Dana Sousa on whether or not they've received that report and whether or not the city has taken any action yet on that report. And I've not been able to get a response from Dana. I know the city of Sanibel has, a lot on its plate right now, and they're also being very supportive of our efforts on the county land use proposals. So I don't want to be aggressively following up, knowing, all the other demands that he has on his time right now. I don't know, David, maybe you might get a chance to, mention it to him, as you're working with Sanibel on the land use efforts. And if you could find a convenient time just to give him a little nudge, maybe that would be helpful.
We'll do so.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have on wastewater. Linda, do you have anything on stormwater?
Well, the one update David gave, we also were working on some recommendations for things that individuals could do. And I decided that we have enough going on right now that we would take it up, that we need to focus on what we need to focus on, which is
Right, that makes sense.
So we'll take it back up in September. Keep people
Okay.
focused on what they need to focus on.
All righty, let's move on to iguanas.
Yeah.
From what I can see, the iguana population continues to multiply exponentially, John. What do you think's going on?
Yeah, well, Alfredo, thanks, Jay. Alfredo, is coming out every Tuesday.
Yes.
And he's busy. He gets, probably, he says about 20 to 30 the days he's out here. And 90% of those are the big ones, like 2 feet or longer.
Mhm.
So he's concentrating on getting the bigger ones. And, he's hitting the side streets, Whiteman, like up around the Green Flash. And when he comes out, he knows there's hot spots for him. So that's what he concentrates on. But if anybody notices an abundance on their property and they want Alfredo to visit their house or whatever there is, just email the panel and we'll give Alfredo the address, and he can hit that house when he can't hit them all in one day, but he's doing his best, and it is busy. Yeah, he's busy.
Yeah, John, I think I think Jay's right. I've been here and they're everywhere. Just the 2 foot, 3 foot ones, but they're little babies. I mean, they're very cute, but they're little babies everywhere. I mean, like 5 inches, 6 inches, and they're clearly green iguanas. And maybe you can speak to Alfredo and get an honest assessment of whether we need to do something different than just having him here 1 day a week. Because I don't think we want to lose control of this. And because there's so little foliage around, we see them more, but I think they're everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. And so maybe we just need a different, more of him, or a different management tool or something. But if you can just have an honest discussion with him so that we don't lose control of the situation, and ask him if resources weren't an issue, what would he do to control the population on Captiva?
Okay.
Yeah,
Because he's,
I really support that idea, John.
okay,
Yeah, I think we need an honest assessment of, are we losing the war here, and do we need a different, plan of attack?
okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, the way we have it now, the county's funding him being out here once a week. I think
Mhm.
that's basically what it boils down to. But, maybe we can get more if we're, losing this battle.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk to him, because he has a gun, he shoots them,
Uh,
and then he also uses a snare. So, I mean, he prefers to shoot him, and he can get a lot more. But, like these little ones, the little ones are a problem, because he can't,
can't
there
shoot 'em
are,
as easily.
yeah.
Should
Yeah.
we be trapping them, or it's that stupid?
No, I don't think trapping, because if you have a trap and then the iguana gets in there and Alfredo's not out for a week, it's,
It's
they're
considered, whatever.
inhumane.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll talk to Alfredo and have a report next meeting.
Well, not the one next week, but next month, perhaps.
Right. The main meeting. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Jay.
Other committee reports. Anybody have anything? I've got something to bring up, but I'll see if anybody else has any other topics they want to bring up.
No.
Okay, I have an update from Verizon. They are in the process of installing the small cell towers now. As you'll all recall, Verizon was going to construct 5 small cells to improve the strength of our signal throughout Captiva. I know at least 2 of those small cells are up now. There may be more up that, I haven't, seen yet. But I've been told by Verizon they expect to have the 5 towers fully operational with improved signal strength in the first quarter of 2024. So hopefully then by 2024, we'll have at least 1 cell carrier on the island of Captiva that has a strong, reliable cell service, signal. I'm hoping that's what the result of all this effort will be that we've expended working with Verizon. So does anybody have any comments on that, or?
Where are the 2 towers they've put up, Jay?
Well, there's one across from Mike Lanigan's house.
Oh.
Near the beginning of Captiva Drive on the Gulf side of the road. And then there's one on Captiva Drive on the Gulf side of the road just before you start the S turn.
Oh, okay.
Across Blind Pass. Those are the 2 I've seen.
Okay.
And to my eye, they don't stick out, all that much. They don't look like a tremendous eyesore, to me, but that's just my judgment. Maybe other people might have a different opinion, but I've heard no complaints from anybody.
Yeah, I haven't noticed them, so that's
Well, that's a good sign.
yeah. All right.
Yeah, just in terms of that, Tony, just since you're there, remember we had it moved from the Gulf side to the other side of the street on the Bay side, sort of hidden in that corner there. Just keep an eye out and make sure they do that. We don't want them to make a mistake and put it on the Gulf side over there.
I'll keep looking for them. Thanks for the reminder, David.
Okay.
Oh, the other thing I should mention, those cell towers are going up in the exact locations that we previously discussed several months ago when we all decided to go forward with the cell tower project. So the locations have not changed at all.
Right. We did change that location from one side of Captiva Drive to the other side.
Yes, right.
And I just want to I mean, I want to make sure that change didn't get lost in the shuffle somewhere.
Okay. All right, well, I think we've concluded all of our agenda items. Does anybody else have anything they would like to say, or is there any?
Jay,
Yeah,
I
any
just have
comment?
one, comment from the audience. Would it be helpful to email all the commissioners again and let them know that we are in support of the Captiva Community Panel updated resiliency plan code?
The answer would be, the answer to that would be yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we may, depending on what happens at the meeting this Thursday. Yeah, we may want to have another, a widespread community action following that. I don't know. It'll depend on what happens, Thursday. But I think the more communication from the public regarding these land use proposals from the county, the better.
But it should be respectful and polite.
Yes. Always respectful. All right, if nobody has anything else, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I so move.
A second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we
Thank
will
you,
see you.
David.
We will see you
Thanks.
next Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Ken or Ann, you'll put out an announcement today regarding that meeting, and the purpose of the meeting is to review current status of the Lee County land use proposals and the results of the Thursday county meeting, and also an update from David on legal representation.
Right.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you
Yeah,
next.
thanks, Jay. Thanks,
Thanks,
Dave.
Jay.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.